Okay, Better Man, directed by Michael Gracie, written by him, Oliver Cole, Simon Gleason, and based off the life of Robbie Williams. The only Robbie Williams I know is Robin Williams. Bless his soul. Alright, before I get started, respect to Michael Gracie. He directed one of my favorite films, The Greatest Showman. Amazing musical, fantastic soundtrack, really heartfelt music, right? So I'm coming into this film, like I've said before, like I'll usually watch a movie based off the artist behind it. I don't think I saw a trailer for Better Man. If I did, it was months ago when it was going through its theatrical release, because I watched this through Paramount Plus. So I didn't remember what it was about or who it was about, right? But I saw his name behind it. So I'm like, let me go check it out, man. Not expecting anything, to be honest. I was just, just chilling, just watching the movie. My. You know what the best movies are to me? The ones that you don't know anything about, you just go in not knowing anything. And that's not me trying to disrespect the artist Robbie Williams. That's just me telling you guys, like, I had no bias. I didn't. But oh my, the best ones are the ones that just surprise the crap out of you. And this movie did that to me. And I just want to be straightforward. This film did touch my heart in a way that I didn't expect it to. Let me talk about this movie. So this movie follows British pop star Robbie Williams as a chimp. You know, he's the only chimp in the movie, right? And I'm saying it because the topic itself is very foreign to a lot of people, that many people would just shut down this movie or watching this movie just based off that. Like, why is a chimpanzee singing? I'm just not gonna watch this movie. Like, just hold off on there, yeah? So let me just explain why they portrayed him this way. First off, it's because he's felt many of his life as a pop star like a performing monkey, right? Many pop stars and many artists on stage, who sing, feel this way. And then the other reason is because he felt like his growth was stunted at 15, which is when he became famous or so. And so in a sense, he said that he's felt unevolved as a person, as a human, and that's why they made him this way. And just to comfort you in the idea, at least for me, it was like a chimp wasn't there. And the reason why is because the visual effects are really great, Oscar nominated. They do a lot with his face, man, and with every part of his body. Like, he's out here dancing and everything. You fall into the idea really quick. Like, in your head, you're not thinking like, that's a chimp, like what the heck? No, like, you don't. You'll forget about it, trust me. Anyways, so we follow Robbie Williams through his humble beginnings, his troubled past, his troubled home, specifically with one of his parents. He grows into this pop star, introducing himself in this boy band called Take That, eventually starting his own solo career. And we follow him through this crazy journey, man, where he's up here in the highest. And then, per usual, a great artist falls from there for various reasons. But his story as to why, it was very touching to me. And, the great stuff about this film, aside from the visual effects, which are great, I'm not kidding. Like, you could see this guy's facial expressions that I thought, wow, like I feel that in my heart. Like, why am I crying because this chimpanzee is feeling this certain way? Like, I did, and they do a great job with that. And of course, this film, it has musical numbers throughout it, right? Some would call it a musical, and I would be like, yeah, I think it is a musical. And then some would say it's a movie with musical numbers in it. And I would also say that too, because for most of the film, it's a lot of dialogue, it's a lot of talking, and there are musical numbers here and there, but they're not as often as you would see them in a musical, right? But the visual effects just capture the movement. It's motion capture, and it's great, right? Because they're so creative. They're so creative when it comes to the musical sequences. And the music is great. This is most part Robbie Williams's own music, from his own discography. I'm being like completely honest. I had never heard his music before, but I was introduced to it in this film, and I was very happy I was in this way, because attached to these musical numbers is not only technically, brilliant, which is from the visual effects, from the camera. Oh my, some of them, the camera work is so kinetic. For example, one of the sequences is a one shot, 3 minutes and 40 or so seconds, a one shot dance sequence. But the way it moves, it's flying, but with purpose, and very, very imaginative musical sequences. But like I was saying, the music itself, it's wrapped up around the story. It's not just put there for a random reason. You wrap it up around the story of this person who's hurting, who's broken, who's filled with self-loathing. It's very human stuff and powerful stuff that this guy went through. Like, I was shocked by specifically something he went through with a partner, right? And the way they explain it through this dance sequence on a boat, on a yacht. I fell in love with the movie in that scene, which is about halfway through. It was beautiful because this sequence tells a story without words, intercutting this dance sequence with the relationship of his partner. And it's very heartfelt, communicating the emotion extremely well. And the unfortunate circumstances in this situation and in all of throughout his life. And you can't help but feel for this guy, man. The whole movie is filled with an energetic cast that just brings it in, you know, his nana, his dad, the group, the boy band, his partner, the manager, and of course, the actor playing Robbie Williams, who did most of the voice acting and motion capture, Jonno Davies. Man, they did great because this character, Robbie Williams, comes from a hardened background, but he's charismatic, he's full of life, and full of ambition, and his humbling experiences, he tries to take them on his chin, but as for most people in those situations, it just becomes a lot. Where for so many artists, of course, falls for vices, for drugs, for women, for all of these sort of things that just numb your pain, doesn't solve anything. And so seeing this character, who seems to be very well taken care of by the director, go through his full arc, it's very satisfying. I really connected with him in some ways that I did not expect to. And like I said in the beginning, it touched my heart. You know, music does this thing where it's in an instant. It'll get you to a place or from a place in an instant. And the way that the film and the director dances through these scenes, you know, having a strong film story, including this smart, purposeful usage of the musical numbers, it hit me, man, it did. Towards the end, I was tearing up. There are surprising character anchors for Robbie Williams that, because of the acting, feel so authentic and relatable. And you could just tell, like The Greatest Showman, the director has this thing, this ability, and I'm very, very happy, like, with this film. Like, that he's being consistent, right? There's this thing with directors of being consistently great. And this guy is becoming one of them. Because through both of his stories, The Greatest Showman and this one, they just both have so much heart, right? And this one just focuses more on its protagonist, on its lead. And it's different in its own way, so imaginative, creative in its musical numbers. Like, its editing, kudos to the editing, kudos to, you know, the brains that came up with this. Very inspiring. And the reason why I'm so happy to see this director get another win, in my eyes, even though it wasn't a box office success, I think people will recognize good work when they see it, you know, and I hope more people support this film. But the reason why I am so celebratory of this win is because this director seems to have a lot of heart in his storytelling. And I mean that, a lot of soul in it. You could tell from these first two films, you know, Greatest Showman and Better Man, he seems to be a great storyteller, imaginative in his delivery, providing us with valuable lessons. If I had any critiques about the film, it's that its ending is satisfying, but I feel like a character in particular should have been developed a bit more in order to make the ending feel a lot more satisfied. You understand what I'm saying if you've seen it. And the second act feels stretched out. And in Act 3, the catharsis and the conclusion of the story leading up to it felt a bit too rushed for me. But man, this movie has those scenes that you think about throughout the day. It's got a lead character who's very charismatic. You could follow him throughout the film. And he's not likable so many times, but from the get-go, from the jump, it does this thing where you become emotionally attached to him, where you just want him to get the win. And when he has those moments of fall, you're just always hoping that this guy can rise above that. And of course, complemented with the dance sequences, with the strong music, the kinetic camera, and the strong acting. It just makes for a great film. Very nice story, even though it is strong, and I'll talk about that in my parental advisory section. But please go support this film. This sort of story and this sort of filmmaker deserves to be supported. The movie is a weak A- for me. Okay, a good amount to talk about this one. This movie is rated R. It has strong language, partial frontal female nudity sprinkled throughout the film. There are glimpses of sexual acts, and there's one specific scene of a sexual act that you don't really see what's going on, but you could tell what's going on. You know what I'm saying? A lot of scenes with drugs, with alcohol, but especially drugs, and it's pretty obvious what they're doing. They don't try to hide anything in this film as far as that. And towards the end, about 4/4 of the way through, there is a very graphic scene where this ape goes crazy on a bunch of other apes, killing them and everything. It is metaphorical for how a certain character feels about themselves, but just a heads up. Anyways, let me know what you thought about Better Man. I do recommend this film to the appropriate ages, and please like, please subscribe. I'll catch you guys next time. Bye bye.